You're not gonna make any money if you don't know how to get in front of your ideal customer. Now, most people, they make the mistake of blasting emails, sending thousands of emails and barely getting any responses. And they think it's just a volume game. But in reality, this doesn't get much results. And so in this video, I'm gonna share with you my 10 years of experience in sales and lead generation and pass off to you some of the best strategies and tactics that I've used to generate countless meetings so that you can do it for yourself. And you wanna make sure you watch until the end, because the last tip I have for you is gonna be one that if you implement, you will literally never run out of leads for the rest of your life. Now, the first strategy that I have for you is going to be finding the lowest hanging fruit. Now, not all leads are created equal. Some leads are cold, meaning they have no idea who you are. Some leads are warm. Maybe they've seen some of your content or have an idea of the company or brand that you work for, right? And so here I've drawn a little graph for you to kind of demonstrate. So here we have a little graph. And on the x-axis is gonna be, no pain to pain, right? So how much pain somebody has. And on the y-axis is gonna be not familiar and familiar with who you are. Now, the worst place to absolutely be in is on the bottom left. And that is gonna be when a prospect doesn't know who you are and whatever problem you're trying to solve, they have no pain. This is gonna be the worst, right? So if you're in this situation, you might as well just not sell anything, because no pain, no sell, and they don't even know who you are, so they'll never give you a chance. Now, where you also don't wanna be is on the top left, which is gonna be no pain, but familiar with who you are, right? So when I say familiar, it typically means when you're creating content, you have a personal brand, you have something so that people can say, that's the guy who does sales, that's the guy that does recruiting, right? Now, even if they know who you are, if you're not really solving a real problem, it doesn't matter how famous you are, nobody's gonna buy anything, because you're not solving a true problem, right? Now, let's take it a step further so that you kind of find a position where it's gonna be more advantageous for you. On the bottom right, people are gonna be not familiar with you, and they're also gonna have a pain. Now, this is pretty much where most of you guys watching are gonna be, meaning you're doing some kind of outreach. And a lot of times it's cold. Sometimes it's cold calling, cold emailing, cold LinkedIn message, cold something, right? Now, they don't know who you are, but they have some kind of problem. And if your message is strong enough that invokes some kind of reaction for them to want to take a meeting with you, then that's exactly how you're going to get your meeting. So obviously, you only want to target people who actually think, or you think, they have a problem. Now, there's no way of knowing if someone has a true problem or not until you actually talk with them, right? There's a lot of intents and signals that you can find online. But at the end of the day, if they don't have a problem, you cannot sell, right? Now, the best place where you need to be, and this will actually be the game changer for generating meetings for you, is when people are familiar with you and they also have a problem. This is the jackpot. This is when somebody has watched your content, they got some value from it. They almost owe you because the content was free on YouTube or LinkedIn or wherever you create content. And then if you reach out to them and they actually have some kind of problem, the chances of them responding are going to be significantly higher, right? Why wouldn't somebody respond to you if they knew who you are, they enjoyed your content, and they had a specific problem that you could uniquely solve? That's a shoo-in, right? That's like for sure you're gonna win. And so for our business, especially for me and Founder X, what we've been doing actually is we've been going hard on the content, getting thousands, hundreds of thousands of views per month. And then what we do is we reach out to the people that have already seen our content. And so with LinkedIn, and that's really a big strategy for us, we can see who viewed our profile, who engaged with us, who can see, who left a comment and things like that. And essentially, we can reach out to all these people who are already warm with us and see if they need help when it comes to generating leads, building a personal brand, and closing more sales, which is what Founder X is all about. Now, it's powerful because you might say, that's kind of unfair. Like, you're only reaching out to people that already know who you are. And that's the whole point of building a brand, because we already have enough people watching our content that we can only reach out to these people and it still will be excellent for us. Now, we can even do cold outbound, sure, but we have so much warm people that we might as well go for them. And every month we're getting hundreds of thousands of more people watching our content. And I would advise you guys to do the same. That's like one of the hacks of 2025, to build a personal brand, get people to come to you, and then reach out to them. And that actually leads us to a new software tool that I recently came across, and they are also the partner for this video, and they're gonna be called LeadsNavi. LeadsNavi is pretty cool because it allows you to basically install this software into your website. And then every time somebody goes to your website, LeadsNavi is able to, with accuracy, identify who exactly visited your website, and it's going to find you the email contact information of this person. And that's pretty crazy because think about this. Let's say you're making YouTube videos and you're saying everybody, hey guys, check the link in the description and come on down, see what I got. So a lot of people are gonna go to your website, but not everyone's gonna give you their email. Not everyone's gonna sign up for, let's say, a lead magnet or a free training or book a call. There are gonna be a lot of people that come in and you don't know who they are. And so what LeadsNavi is able to do is it's able to identify who these people are without them giving any information. And you can see all their individual emails, the person's first name and last name, where they're from and all that kind of stuff. And then what you can do is create campaigns based on who visited your profile but haven't, given you their email yet, right? And you can reach out to them with a cold email. And now because you're reaching out to people who are somewhat already warm, the chances of them responding is higher because number one, they know who you are because they visited your website already. That's how you got their contact information with LeadsNavi, right? And number two, they have some kind of problem. Otherwise, they would have clicked the link to go on your website in the first place, right? So this is a very powerful place to be. They know who you are, they have a pain. Why not reach out to the people that already are kind of familiar with you, right? So if you're interested in checking out LeadsNavi, you definitely want to use the link in the description to sign up for a free trial. And you're also gonna get 50% off if you use my code. So make sure to check that out in the description. Now, the next tip that I'm gonna have for you when it comes to lead generation is that scripts do not work. Now, I've trained a lot of people and even training my own team as well. And a lot of times what happens is I'll have a Google Doc and I'll have all the templates that have worked for me. And so I'll give it to them. And I'll say, okay, all you have to do is replace, the product and the pain points, but sell to your ideal customer, but the template works, I've done it myself. And a lot of times people will use the templates, it won't work, and they'll be like, Patrick, what happened? You said it would work, it didn't work for me. I realized that they kind of try to take shortcuts. They try to just copy and paste the script and just replace a couple words, the company name and stuff like that, and expect it to work. The problem is that scripts itself, they don't really work. It's all about the frameworks. So when somebody gives you a script, or maybe you got a script from me, it's not as if you should copy it line by line. You should see how the framework and the structure of how I did things and do it for yourself, for your particular niche, and make it unique for your ideal customer. Because these little nuances of the word choicing you use, how long the sentences should be, the stories that you tell, the case studies you have, they're all going to be slightly different, but the framework is going to be the same, right? A framework could be, start with an intro, thanks for connecting on LinkedIn, point out something on their LinkedIn profile, and then ask an insightful question that elicits some kind of pain, right? So that would be considered a framework, right? So that's exactly what I teach in Founder X actually, where it's like, we do a lot of DMs and I teach a lot of people how to do DMs, and it's just like this. Intro, data, observation, insight, question. It's basic, it's only 3 sentences, but not everybody can do it. And the reason is because they're so caught up in trying to copy, my scripts and templates and say, oh, it worked for Patrick, it's gonna work for me. Now it can, but you have to adjust it specifically for your sale, for your specific ideal customer, for that specific person, especially if you are sending personalized DMs and you're expecting high response rates. If you're copy and pasting everybody the same thing and it sounds very generic and it doesn't feel like you care and you're not really listening to their problems, or you're not, making the right guesses on what their problems could be, chances are it's not gonna work. And so remember, it's not about the scripts. It's about using the frameworks and understanding the psychology of why people should respond. And when you understand that, you can take any script and make it work for your sale. Now, I'll give you another tip when it comes to increasing your response rates, and that is using trigger events. Now, if you think about it, if you reach out to somebody cold and there's no reason for this to happen and you're just guessing what their pains are, they may respond, but the chances of it is not that high. Right? And you want to increase your response rate. So how do you do that? You look for what I call trigger events. Trigger events are essentially just things that happen to a company or a person that will increase the odds of them, responding to you, right? For example, if you are selling to tech startups, a lot of times, when they raise money, they're gonna announce it and it's gonna be everywhere on all the tech websites and stuff, right? Like this company raised $10 million to do AI, whatever, right? When that happens, they have money and they're hiring a bunch of people. So with new money and new hires, chances are they're looking to expand certain parts of their business. Let's say you're selling some kind of HR services where you just handle all their HR for them. If that's the case, then it's a perfect time to reach out to them because they probably just, raised money. They're probably looking for recruiters and other people to handle payroll and stuff like that. And if you, let's say, outsourced all of that for cheaper for them, maybe it's a good time for you to reach out to them, right? Whatever the case is, you want to find these trigger events. Every company does have trigger events, whether it's them hiring new people, them raising money, them having some kind of big news, them doing a partnership, on the partnership, just curious to know how you're gonna handle this, right? Like when people accomplish new milestones, it typically comes with a whole set of new problems. And those problems need to be solved. And if you can solve them for the appropriate price and uniquely and do things that other people cannot do, then it's easy to get a meeting. Do the homework and find one level of, intimacy, one level of like homework that will show that you actually understand who they are, because that is the difference between someone that has a high response rate and a low response rate, right? If you're lazy, you're just blasting out emails, yeah, don't expect anyone to respond. But if you're calculated and you're reaching out to people who have trigger events and there's like specific things, problems that that you can solve, that they have after these trigger events happen, then your response rates are going up. So a lot of times people get confused. They think in order to get high response rates, it's all about the template. There's no perfect template. Like you can go on ChatGPT and find all the templates you want, but it doesn't mean it's gonna work for you. The difference between someone who's good and not good is those little nuances that stack up together. Are you solving a pain? Do people know who you are? Are you going after a specific trigger event that would increase the odds that someone would respond to you? When you add all of these things together, suddenly your response rates can significantly increase. Now, the next tip I have for you is going to be speed to lead. Now, this is something I've been learning recently, and it's a lesson I'll pass on to you. When somebody raises their hand and they say, oh, I'm interested in a training, or oh, I'm interested in a lead magnet, right? You want to get to that person as quickly as possible because they're hot. A lot of times people, will make a decision based on emotions, and if you're there at the right time, right when they need it, the chances of them buying is going to be significantly higher. The chances of them booking a meeting with you is going to be significantly higher as well. So I'll give you an example. Let's say, you're making content on LinkedIn and then you have a lead magnet and you're saying, I'm going to show you, the top 10 ways to generate leads using LinkedIn, for example. And that's your lead magnet. And all these people who see what you're doing are like, oh, I want to generate leads on LinkedIn too. And they download that lead magnet, they give you their email, and what happens next? If you follow up with them like 2 weeks later, they're not hot anymore. Maybe they were struggling with creating content when they got the lead magnet and they're just like, they have a burning pain that needs to be solved. But 2 weeks later, maybe they gave up on LinkedIn completely and they're moving on to YouTube. So by speed to lead, I mean, when somebody raises their hand and gives you their contact information, you have to get in the door as quickly as possible, because the first, I would say 2 weeks are the hottest time, but you definitely, the first like 3 days is going to be the hottest time, right? The first day is going to be the hottest time. So you want to get there as quickly as possible, and you want to be that person that solves your problem before anybody else comes in the line. Because if you think about it from a prospect's journey and how they look for solutions, they're gonna go on your YouTube channel and watch your stuff, download your stuff. They're gonna go to another person and do the same thing. And they're probably gonna put their email into like 10 different lead magnets, right? And then based on the quality of content they get, and based on how quickly the setters or people who do, sales development work reply to them or follow up with them, they're gonna take on meetings and they're gonna find, whoever's first is basically gonna win, right? So speed to lead. Don't delay it, just do it now. Do it quick, and don't leave any stone unturned. Now here's the next thing I want to talk about, and that is finding a strategically unique channel to generate leads. Now on my channel, on our YouTube channel, I talk about many different ways to generate leads, right? There's cold calling, cold emailing, LinkedIn DMing. There's even Instagram DMing, Twitter DMing. There's an infinite ways to generate leads. You can go on a Facebook group and DM people, right? So when you're deciding which form of lead generation you want to do, you have to think, where do you have the most advantage? Because if you don't have an advantage in any lead generation, it's kind of hard for you to get responses, right? So like if you're a nobody in an industry, nobody knows who you are, and you're gonna send cold emails to all the solar companies. Well, yeah, so is everybody else. So where's your advantage? You don't have any. So you should expect to eat dirt for a long time before you start getting responses, because nobody knows who you are. Now, if you were, let's say, a creator on LinkedIn and you're consistently creating content and you're really good at DMing people and you're DMing people that saw your content, that's your strategic advantage. And you don't need a lot of people to see your profile. You just need to, you can only message 40 people, outbound a day anyways, right? So you have to find your strategic advantage, whether you're good at video and you're creating content, or whether you're really good at writing copy for cold emails. Find something unique in your industry. Otherwise, it's gonna be extremely difficult to stand out. If you do what everybody else is doing, it will work to a degree, don't get me wrong, because with enough volume and with enough good copywriting and enough understanding people's pain, people will respond. But when you find a channel that's just so unique to you that it would just be so hard for other people to compete, that is where you win. So I'll give myself as an example, right? So for Founder X, which is the program, we helped entrepreneurs generate leads, close more deals, and also help people go from their 9 to 5 into, becoming their own boss, essentially, right? If you want to learn more, I have a link in the description. For our advantage is that I've been doing YouTube for like 5 years now, right? And so I have, over 250,000 subscribers. And because of that, a lot of people know who I am. And also because a lot of people have used my content over the years and it helped them get a sales job, helped them generate sales and get meetings and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of goodwill that's built up over the years. So as I promote Founder X and I sell it and I, talk to people on the phone, it'll usually be like, oh my God, man, I've been watching your content for like years now. Thank you so much because I got this sales job because of you. So now the conversation is really different. I'm not really like hardcore selling them. I'm just sharing with them what I've done. And because that goodwill is built up and I've helped them make money without asking for anything, the chances of them buying is going to be higher, right? And so that is my unique advantage because I built this channel to generate leads with video over the course of many years. And of course, that takes investment in time and energy and staff and hiring editors and people to package up the content, thumbnails, all that kind of stuff. But it's my unique advantage that not a lot of people can copy, right? There's just not that many people creating sales content on YouTube. And also, recently we've really been going hard on LinkedIn, right? So make sure to follow me on LinkedIn if you haven't already. But it's also a unique advantage where I have a lot of followers on LinkedIn built over the years. I'm getting new followers by posting more content. I'm getting people on YouTube, you guys, to come on LinkedIn. I'm getting a surge of followers there. So it's like, how can somebody compete against that, right? It's not only I'm creating content, I have other channels to get more followers in different ways. And I'm also really good at, reaching out to people and DMing people to, book them on calls essentially, right? And it's like, that is my unique advantage that not a lot of people can copy. You can copy different elements of it, but you can't get the whole thing unless you literally just do what I do, which you technically could, right? But again, it takes a lot of work and energy to do that. And that's me building my moat around my business. So for your business, what's your unique moat? Do you have unique relationships that you can tap into? Are you, popular on a certain platform? Like you have to find something that makes you unique. Otherwise, you shouldn't expect extraordinary results if you're doing ordinary things. I'll give you one tip that will skyrocket your response rates, and that is manually writing each outbound that you do. Now, this is crazy for a lot of people. They might think like, oh, like I want to just blast 1,000 emails. But in the beginning, what ends up happening is that when you think you can rely on a template and you think you can rely on automations, the emails that come out or the outbound that comes out typically isn't good. But what I've learned is that when you write each one by one, the quality and care that you put into each one is significantly higher. Now you have to be the judge on what's worth it in terms of like time versus, meetings booked, the reward, right? Obviously, if you write an individual message to each person, you need that response rates to be high in order to make it worth it, right? And again, you have to do this every day for 4 hours, But for us, for example, for Founder X, we actually write every message on LinkedIn manually. We have a framework, right? There's an intro. We look at their profile. We make an observation, find something in common perhaps, and then we ask a question to see how we can help to continue the conversation. But every single message that we write to people is personal. It's like we're actually trying to get to know them, to understand their problems, to see if we can help, genuinely, right? And because it's so genuine, people can feel that and the response rates are higher. So for us, it's worth it to write each one individually because number one, they know who we are. Number two, we're looking for a problem. And if they have a problem, it's just gonna connect so well. And the booking rate from that, booked from message to book call is significantly higher. So I highly encourage you to, in the beginning at least, write each one individually, especially if you're doing something like LinkedIn, because you're limited to 40 outbound anyways, right? So you can do 40 individual ones, and if it's only 3 sentences, with the same framework for each person, it's not that hard, right? Do it manually in the beginning, get good at it, get responses, then you'll get a feeling and understanding of this kind of messaging works. These type of people like to be talked in this type of way. So once you get used to it, then you can start finding different ways to scale up and kind of send the same message to everybody. But until then, I wouldn't say you're good enough to really, do mass scale, right? And even if you're doing cold emailings, yeah, sure, maybe you're not messaging each person one by one. You could, if you had a really killer offer, right? But even if you weren't, I would still recommend you pick 20 people and send them all that have a similar ideal avatar, and write an email for those 20 people versus writing an email to 500 people. Because when you do those 20, you're gonna try a lot harder to make those emails good, and you're gonna make those follow-ups really good as well. So sometimes it's not even about the automation, it's the psychology of knowing that you put in time into something to make it as good as possible, to increase your response rate as high as possible, right? And so manually writing things is a very key thing to increase your response rates. Here's a crazy one that a lot of people overlook, and that is, the better product you sell, the easier it is to sell. Now, I know a lot of people starting out, especially if you're building your own business, maybe your product or service isn't that good. Maybe you just invented it last week, normal. But you have to understand this, the better the thing that you're selling, the better your offer, it's just gonna be easier to get meetings, it's gonna be easier to sell. So a lot of times, a lot of people focus on the wrong thing. They focus on really optimizing their open rates, and all that kind of stuff. In reality, if they just improve their offer and kept everything the same, it's possible that their response rate may significantly increase because of the change of product. So you can take a really good sales rep and put them on a bad product, they won't sell anything. But if you take the same rep and you put them on an excellent product that everybody needs, that have a product market fit, then they're gonna get a ton of meetings. That's just the way it works. So whatever your situation is, try to find a way to sell the best possible product, whether it's working for another company that has a really good brand and everything, or if it's you creating your own services, you have to package whatever you're selling in a very desirable way that when people read your email, they're like, oh my God, this is exactly what I needed. That is the key to getting more leads. And again, it's don't get so caught up in the templates and things like that. Sometimes you gotta focus on the basics. What you're selling, who you're selling it to, what problem do they have, and why can't they fix a problem by themselves? And when you put all these things together into some concise message with a LinkedIn or an email, then the chances of them responding is so much higher, right? It's the basics that actually will get you the furthest. And a lot of people want to get fancy, automations, A/B testing, and all these things. But their basics, fundamentals of are they even selling something of value is totally broken. I personally teach my clients, focus on the basics first. I always focus on the offer to make sure hey, is this something that people actually want? Is this something people will pay for? Who else out there is selling something similar to you, and how much are they charging for it, and how big is this market really? And these are the things that you have to keep in mind before you even get started. And in the beginning, to be honest, you don't even have to be the most unique. Yeah, being a niche of one is important, and it is important in differentiating yourself from other people. But in the very beginning, even if you copied somebody's offer word for word, bar for bar, exactly, what they had, you still can sell one person because that person doesn't know of the other person's offer anyway. So there's, you don't even have to differentiate that much when you're small, right? If you're getting your first 3 clients, even if you copied another person's offer, you can still sell it, Get proof that, it actually works and solve a real problem, and then try to find ways to differentiate. But in the beginning, you just need to go as fast as possible to getting paid clients so that you can have money to continue to keep doing whatever it is that you want to do. Now, the next tip I have for you is gonna be a very important one. And I've made this mistake in the past, and that is you never stop. Whatever it is you're selling, you never stop prospecting. I don't care if you have a bunch of clients and you can't handle all of it and you have to do all the fulfillment. I don't care if you have 10 sales calls a day. No matter what, you always set aside time to do prospecting. If you stop, what's gonna happen is you're gonna have a bunch of leads and calls, and then you're gonna do the sales calls and fulfill all the work, and then you're gonna have no clients, and then you have to build it back up again, which may take a couple weeks, a month maybe, because a lot of times these deals don't close on the first call. Sometimes it takes, a month, 2 weeks, whatever the case is, 2 calls. So if you stop, you're gonna run out of flow of leads. So the best way to be confident in yourself and your product is to always have leads come in knocking on the door. So whether it's creating content or reaching out to people, you always wanna be doing something every single week to fill your pipeline with opportunities. Otherwise, you're going to have a bad month, and you don't want that, right? It's very discouraging and it sucks. I remember I was in a situation where I was like, oh my God, I did 30 to 40 meetings in 1 week, and I was extremely busy. And then I stopped doing outbound generation and stuff like that for a while. And then later on I was like, what the heck? I only have 5 calls this whole week. It's only 1 a day. So I have to build it back up again, right? And so I've learned from that experience of that pain of going up and down. Just keep doing it. no matter what, you have to just bite the bullet. Nobody's gonna do it for you unless you pay them, right? And you just have to keep on prospecting. And I promise you, if you just do it every single day and you have leads, like 5 meetings a day, 5 times 5 is 25 a week, times 4, that's 100 meetings a month. I'm pretty dang sure that you're gonna be able to close some deals out of those 100, right? And so never stop prospecting, and that is the key for your success.